Welcome back to Hardball. With the Iowa caucuses just a little more than 2 months away, President Trump is eager to face off with his Democratic challenger, whoever it ends up being. Given the string of recent polls, it is not quite clear who it will be or when the nominee will emerge. For more, I'm joined by Ozzy Pabra, New York Times Metro reporter, Danielle Moodie Mills, co-host of a Democracy-ish podcast, and John Podhoretz, editor at Commentary Magazine. Ozzy, I'll start with you. We're putting all those numbers up. The Biden one is interesting because it's almost a Rorschach test, right? Do you want to be Biden or not? Do you want to be the candidate who's leading nationally right now and has been? Or do you want to be the candidate who's losing fourth place in both Iowa and New Hampshire? Which one of those is more important right now?
Everybody loves a comeback story, and we've seen it time and time again. Somebody comes out of Iowa, people write these headlines anointing them the front runner. New Hampshire says, we have a voice in this too. Somebody comes out of there leading. South Carolina says, we have a voice. Nobody wants to feel, as a voter, that things are wrapped up before they vote, that they're not sort of being sought after as a constituency. And one thing that is very helpful, everyone likes to take shots at the front runner. If you're at the bottom at some of this polling, one of the best things is the fact that you have nowhere else to go but up. And the challenge is actually doing it. But you at least get to have this narrative of building momentum, starting at the bottom, moving all the way up.
Well, I'm curious. Let's spend a little time here on Biden, because it's how do you assess his political standing, John? Because there's a theory that, wow, it's been 6 months, he's still in first place. And there's a theory that, wow, have you seen him in these debates? And when you get a week or two out from the first contest and people are paying close attention, those numbers are going to drop.
I don't know. Look, it seems like there is a floor under Biden, and the floor is 28%. That is what you look at from April until now. He was higher. He was he's at 28%. Like that, if you drew a line through the graph, of course you want to be that guy. I mean, would you prefer to be that guy and in first place in Iowa and in first place in New Hampshire? Yes, but it's not that far behind in either. They're kind of clumped, the four of them, a bit. And we have this kind of Buttigieg bubble, particularly in Iowa, and he's going to have to sustain that. But it's just as easy to see that Biden could come in a close second in Iowa, or the three people could effectively tie in Iowa, and then he could do perfectly fine in New Hampshire, and then he goes south and he devastates the field from South Carolina through Super Tuesday. And that 28% carries him to the nomination.
Yeah, I mean, Danielle, I think it seems likely that if Biden can win one or certainly two of those early states, or be seen as succeeding, as John says, you don't necessarily have to win. Clinton got second in New Hampshire, famously called himself the comeback kid. It was as good as winning New Hampshire. Then that support he has in South Carolina and beyond should hold. But I think the question is, what if he does come in a distant third in Iowa? He's 10, 15 points behind. What if he comes in a distant third, fourth place in New Hampshire? What if it's not a good showing in those states? His campaign talks about South Carolina, its support from black voters as a firewall. Is it?
No, it's not. I think that here's the thing that we have to understand about black voters right now is that we are not a monolith. There are young black millennials who are not for Biden and have not been for Biden because he doesn't speak to any of their issues. He doesn't speak to student debt relief. He doesn't speak to climate change in an aggressive way. You have older black voters who are definitely on his side because they are looking to see where are the white voters who voted for Donald Trump going to go. Here's the thing. We understand what oppression and discrimination looks like on a regular basis, and we understand Donald Trump to be a lethal threat to our way of life. And so we are going to go, some black voters, and as it's polling right now with South Carolina, will go the way that seems the safest. But that does not mean that if Joe Biden comes out of Iowa in fourth, comes out of New Hampshire in fourth, that South Carolina is going to save him. No, they're going to look and say, wait a minute, you know what? Maybe we should have been taking a look at Elizabeth Warren because she has a plan for black women and HBCUs. Maybe we should take a look at Bernie Sanders, right? And for Pete Buttigieg, I mean, he's at 0% with black people, and he really needs to think about that because what we've seen with him is that there's a pattern that has come out of Pete Buttigieg's campaign where he doesn't naturally speak that well to black issues or to black people. And that is something that we're seeing. 0% right now is not where he should be at all.
Well, it's interesting. You both mentioned Buttigieg. the movement that we've seen in the polling in this race really has been among college-educated white voters. That's Kamala Harris had a big jump with them early on over the summer, seemed to shift to Warren, now seems to be shifting to Buttigieg. Are those voters finding a home there, do you think, Ozzy, or is there going to be another candidate who emerges? Is it going to be a Klobuchar? Is it going to go back to Warren? What do you think about that?
It is. I have no idea. The one thing that is the one thing I'm absolutely sure of. But it seems like what happened with Republicans in 2016 was that they cycled through a couple of different candidates. It turned out to be Donald Trump, and they did something that not many people expected. They coalesced because they wanted to beat Democrats more than they cared truly about who was their standard bearer. And I wonder if that is the same thing that's going to happen with Democrats. There is going to be a very intense fight, a very strong fight about values, about principles, about strategy. And I think when voters start thinking about how pure of a candidate they want coming out of the primary versus Donald Trump, when they speak to those kind of issues about an existential threat from the administration, I truly wonder how much are they going to make a strategic choice versus a values choice versus a statement.
Okay, let me give you the alternate 2016 history. Sure. Trump enters the race in June. By August, he's in the lead, and he never surrenders the national lead. And every pundit, me, everybody else is like,
the ceiling.
He's going to die. He's going to collapse. Yep. Something's going to happen. He's going to make a fool of himself. People are not going to take it seriously once they really focus after the Super Bowl, after the World Series, after this, after that. And it didn't happen. And that is Biden's potential ace in the hole, that we're all sitting around waiting for him to collapse. He has not collapsed. There have been 4 debates. Everyone thinks he did badly. Doesn't seem to have mattered a whit. I mean, maybe if he'd done really well, he would be at 40% and this race would effectively be over. But he has not, it's not that he's defied gravity, it's that he has achieved some kind of equilibrium in the polls, I'm sorry, that has him in the lead.
We got a minute left here. Let me go around and let me ask you this, the same question to all of you. If not Biden, who do you think is best positioned to take this?
Elizabeth Warren. She's best positioned. She has the best policy ideas. She's a strong candidate. And aside from the fact that billionaires are attacking her left and right, which everyone should be paying attention to who's attacking her and why, makes her an incredibly strong candidate. And I think that it's patriarchy that may get in her way, not necessarily her.
One for Warren. What do you think, Ozzy?
Sanders seems to have this kind of rock solid support base. He didn't win in 2016. He does have some support. There are Warren supporters and Sanders supporters who have an affinity for each other. I wonder if he can actually pull this one out.
Interesting question. John, quickly.
I'm going to say that if it's not Biden and if things don't really shake up, we're heading to a broken convention.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
I just don't know what, no one is popping. That's the simple fact of the matter. No one's popping. 3 people at 22% or something like that. That's a broken convention.
Well, we've been with all the false alarms for 4 decades. Maybe it'll actually happen. Ozzy Pabra, Danielle Moodie Mills, John Podhoretz.